This one really mattered. And I just want to say thank you for making it happen. Thank you.
Okay. Charitably, I'm going to say that was just an awkward, my heart goes out to you gesture. Many of you might have done it like this. You know, even Taylor Swift has done that, you know, my heart, but she almost never does the goes out to you. Like, just always stays with, but, you know, listen, it's nerve-wracking day. You're not normally a public speaker. It's a one-off gesture. Please try not to use it again. Son of a bitch! You really want to make sure the people in the back see it, I guess. I'm just going to be generous and say maybe that was Elon's attempt at dabbing on the haters? I don't... By the way, do people still dab on haters? Was that a very old man? Okay. Wasn't that a thing at one time? No, I think it's important in these troubled times to continue to dab on the haters.
We all know Donald Trump isn't a details kind of guy. We elected him to come up with big, brilliant ideas like renaming the Gulf of Mexico. No one else could have thought of that or should have thought of that. But it's okay that he's not big on details because during the campaign, he promised us that he knew a guy.
I'm going to appoint Elon Musk, who's a fantastic guy, to lead a government efficiency commission tasked with saving trillions of dollars in fraud, waste, and abuse. We have tremendous fat.
Oh, don't take the bait, Desi. Don't take the bait. Be the bigger person. Be the bigger person. Okay. That's right, Elon Musk, the world's richest man and guy who cheers in the wrong parts of Saving Private Ryan. Trump promised us that he'd give Elon full access to the federal government, pull it to the side and get all up in it. And unlike his wedding vows, this is a promise he kept.
Elon Musk's sweeping push to make over the federal government, sparking Democratic panic and warnings of a constitutional crisis.
Now we have learned that his team has gained access to something extraordinarily sensitive, the system that the Treasury Department uses to disperse almost every check and expenditure of any kind made by the U.S. government.
That is a vast database with millions of Americans' personal information on it.
Yeah, Elon Musk has access to your social security number, and that is not cool. If you want our personal data, Elon, you go buy it off the dark web like everyone else, okay? Now, you might be thinking, I don't want white nationalist Tony Stark to have sole control of the inner workings of the federal government, but relax. It's not just Elon. He has a fully equipped team.
Longtime government employees this week were shocked to find that their new supervisors from Elon Musk's Doge department include recent college and high school graduates between 19 and 24 years old. One of the young men is apparently a former intern at Musk's Neuralink company, who goes by the online handle Big Balls.
Great! Big Balls has my social security number. Now I feel better. I know we complained about our leaders being too old, but doesn't this go a little too far in the other direction? Surely there must be a middle ground somewhere between crypto bros and crypt keepers. Not only that, Musk has been installing his big balls in a whole bunch of little-known agencies that are crucial in actually running the government. The GSA, the OPM, the OMB, the OC, and SVU. Now, Elon Musk isn't just going to get full access to the federal government just to sit back and watch it function like he's some sort of cuck. No, he's going to jump in there and do some cutting.
This weekend, Musk taking aim at the U.S. Agency for International Development, or USAID, which is in charge of dispensing tens of billions of dollars in foreign aid.
USAID employees are waking up this morning to an email notice telling them not to show up to work today, as Musk says he is shutting the agency down.
Yes, the richest man in the world is cutting off aid to poor countries. Why can't you just be a normal billionaire and co-host Shark Tank or run an NBA team into the ground? Now, I'm not saying there's not some cuts to be made in foreign aid spending. You just don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Or what's the expression I'm looking for?
As we dug into USAID, it became apparent that what we have here is not an apple with a worm in it, but we have actually just a ball of worms. And so at the point at which you don't merely, like if you've got an apple and it's got a worm in it, maybe you can take the worm out. But if you've got actually just a ball of worms, it's hopeless. And USAID is a ball of worms. Mm-hmm. There is no apple. And when there is no apple, you've just got to basically get rid of the whole thing.
Okay, we get it. We get the metaphor. You don't have to keep saying worms over and over again. You know, I have a metaphor too. Elon Musk's charisma reminds me of a ball of worms. Now, of course, USAID was codified by an act of Congress. So if Trump thinks he can have Elon Musk kill it, he must have a strong legal reason for why he can do that without an act of Congress.
Will it take an act of Congress to do away with USAID, or do you believe you have...
I don't know. I don't think so.
Or not. Why should he know? He's just the president.
For weeks, people have been raising alarms about how Trump seems to be handing way too much power over to Elon Musk. And yesterday, Trump replied, "I hear you. You want me to give more power to Elon Musk."
President Trump setting new guidelines for hiring in the federal workforce while giving more power to Elon Musk and his team at the Department of Government Efficiency, or Doge. A new executive order directs government agencies to pursue large-scale cuts, saying they now need hiring approval from Doge.
Yes. Elon Musk is now in charge of all government hirings. Sorry, I didn't say that right. I didn't say it right. Yeah, okay. Sorry. Okay. I don't know why I keep Hitler misspeaking. I don't know why I keep misspeaking. So this was already a pretty unusual thing for a president to do. But Trump being Trump, he had to make it even more ridiculous by introducing it with a full-on circus act in the Oval Office. And look at this scene. Musk is holding court with his hands tented like a Bond villain, probably to stop him from doing a Nazi salute, with his 4-year-old child in tow. I mean, that poor kid. His dad literally runs SpaceX, and Elon took him to a meeting on federal spending. "Dad, are we going to get to see the rockets?" "No, son, we're going to discuss budgets because I'm a shitty dad." I mean, everything about this event was so bizarre. Trump was sitting quietly for half an hour, retreating to his happy place, thinking about Arnold Palmer's giant Doge. And I mean, and who thought cloning Stephen Miller was a good idea? I mean, is it for spare parts? I mean, they look like a before and even more before picture. Okay? I mean, okay, but all right. Leaving aside this Renaissance painting done by the dogs playing poker guy, it's good that we have Elon Musk here, because we've been watching him slashing programs and shuttering agencies for a month now, and we can finally ask Elon, why are you doing this?
If the people cannot vote and have their will be decided by their elected representatives in the form of the president and the Senate and the House, then we don't live in a democracy. We live in a bureaucracy. So it's incredibly important that the president, the House, and the Senate decide what happens, as opposed to a large, unelected bureaucracy.
Wow. What? Wow. I mean, you see why this guy's a genius. You don't want an unelected bureaucrat running the country. It makes a lot of sense. No questions here. I do have one question, though. Isn't that you? I mean, am I going crazy? Because it feels like I'm watching Drake sing Not Like Us at karaoke. Like, does he not know? Is having this one unaccountable bureaucrat in charge better than having those other unaccountable bureaucrats in charge? Because at least the others have to follow transparency laws. The only thing transparent about Doge is Elon's skin. I mean, his financial disclosures being kept secret. Doge is exempt from open records laws. And when someone on Twitter merely identified some of the people who work for Doge, Elon suspended their account and said, "You have committed a crime," which we tried to fact check with career officials at the FBI, but they're all working at a Panera now. So, Elon, I gotta tell you, I don't think you're being that transparent.
So all of our actions are maximally transparent. In fact, I don't think there's been, I don't know of a case where an organization has been more transparent than the Doge organization. And I fully expect to be scrutinized and get a daily proctology exam.
Oh! Well, I did the exam, and what an asshole! You know what? I don't want to give you a proctology exam. I just want to know what you're doing, because another advantage of federal bureaucrats is that they can't have conflicts of interest, whereas you seem to have every conflict of interest. SpaceX has government contracts. Tesla is under government oversight. X is under government investigation. And his hair plugs are being investigated by the Department of No One's Buying This. You're basically a walking conflict of interest. Is that not a huge problem?
Well, all of our actions are fully public. So if you see anything, you say, like, wait a second, hey, Elon, that seems like maybe that's, there's a conflict there. It's not like people are going to be shy about saying that. They'll say it immediately,
Oh, good. Okay, if we see a conflict, we just need to say something. Hey, Elon, I notice a conflict. Did that work? No, nothing happened. There's no accountability and nothing matters. Great, perfect system. Well, it. He's not going to be transparent, and he's riddled with conflicts of interest, but at least he's a genius, and the work he's going to do will be flawless.
Mr. Musk, you said on X that an example of the fraud that you have cited was $50 million of condoms was sent to Gaza. How can we make sure that all the statements that you said were correct, so we can trust what you say?
Well, first of all, some of the things that I say will be incorrect and should be corrected. So nobody's going to bat 1,000.
Nobody's going to bat 1,000. You made up a $50 million conspiracy of sending condoms to Gaza. You're not grounding out to third. You're puking into the umpire's mouth. And just for the record, of course the United States didn't send $50 million worth of condoms to Gaza. We sent $5 million of vibrating sex swings to North Korea, and I believe it stopped nuclear war. But don't quote me on that. I'm not going to bat 1,000. So, to summarize, he's not transparent. He has tons of conflict. He believes any lie he hears, and he spreads false rumors that go global. Honestly, I'd be pretty mad at him right now if he didn't have so much gosh darn charisma.
So, there's crazy things like just cursory examination of Social Security, and we've got people in there that are 150 years old. Now, do you know anyone who's 150? I don't. Okay. They should be on the Guinness Book of World Records. They're missing out.
He's old. He's old. Tough crowd. Is this thing on? Anyone here from Washington, D.C.? Anyone? Oh, you're all from Washington, D.C.? Ah!
The Doge Project, the Department of Government Efficiency, headed up by the Nick Cannon of white people, Elon Musk. is in... It's in full effect, and it may surprise you. I, for one, happen to be, quite frankly, Doge curious. I'm actually somewhat Doge adjacent. So, Mr. President, if you would.
We have to solve the efficiency problem. We have to solve the fraud, waste, abuse, all the things that have gone in the government.
Yes! Now, if you had woken up from a coma and heard nothing else that this man had said for the last 10 years, you might think to yourself, I like this guy. I, too, believe government needs to be more efficient, to weed out waste, fraud, and abuse, and deliver the necessary services that Americans rely on more agilely. So what do we do first? Do we pour through the Inspector General's reports that have addressed these things? Utilize computerishness to excise redundancies in the system? Find ways to more efficiently deliver the government assistance so many Americans rely on? What's first?
Elon Musk and his Doge team firing thousands of federal workers.
They're trying to cut 10% of the federal workforce, which is 200,000 jobs.
Oh! Have we determined if those are effective workers? Is it based on performance? Are you going in with a scalpel so that we don't hit any vessels and vital organs?
This is the chainsaw for bureaucracy. Chainsaw!
So, straight amputation. We're just amputation. It's like we're treating public servants as some kind of underclass. Doge is dropping force-guided bombs into the thermal exhaust port that is the Death Star of our bureaucracy. I f***ing love Star Wars. I just love the film. But Doge is Jedi-level shit, man.
The FDA is looking to rehire around 300 people.
The Trump administration will reverse staffing cuts to the 9/11 Health Fund.
Hundreds of workers at the National Nuclear Security Administration fired, then nearly all rehired days later.
The Veterans Affairs Department reinstated terminated employees, and the USDA is rescinding termination letters sent to people working on the response to bird flu.
When I said you were criminal parasites, I obviously wasn't referring to, I have the bird flu. Come back to work. Please. Even if this project of Doge is animated by malice for administrators and is seemingly rash and occasionally cutting off critical government functions out of haste, the savings alone will be worth it. On the Doge website, they posted $16 billion saved just in canceled contracts. Interesting, if true.
A closer look shows big problems. For example, Doge claimed axing a single immigration and customs contract saved $8 billion. Turns out that contract was worth a maximum of $8 million.
The Wall Street Journal estimates the actual amount saved at not $16 billion, but closer to $2.5.
Who amongst us hasn't lied about saying something is 16 when it's really 2.5 billion inches? That's not true either. See, it seems that Doge is struggling a bit to get its footing. From made-up claims about $50 million of taxpayer money going for Gazan condoms, to billions in Social Security payments to dead people, a claim that turned out to not be real, despite what you've heard.
We have millions and millions of people over 100 years old, because they're obviously fraudulent or incompetent. But if you take all of those millions of people off Social Security, all of a sudden we have a very powerful Social Security with people that are 80 and 70 and 90, but not 200 years old.
True. You can't argue with that if only it were happening. But it's not happening. We're not paying millions and millions of dead people's Social Security money. And even if there was a 200-year-old man walking around, he wouldn't need Social Security. He'd still be in Congress.
But Elon Musk has been trying to find ways to fire as many federal workers as possible. And this weekend, he tried out his new method by sending an email that shouldn't have been a meeting or an email.
It's the Doge ultimatum. Elon Musk emailing over 2 million federal workers with this subject line: "What did you do last week?" It simply asks them to list 5 things they accomplished at work and says not replying by midnight tonight would be taken as a resignation.
Ah, the hallmark of a good boss. He gives you busy work that also makes you scared. This is such an insane idea. Just for starters, let's say everyone does respond. Who the is going to read 2.4 million emails? I say this as someone who has an inbox with 2.4 million unread emails. It is too many emails to read. Hey, Pottery Barn, if you tell me about one more throw pillow sale, I will kill myself, and the blood will be on your hands. Also on your throw pillows. Don't test me. And I know you gave my email to William Sonoma. Anyway, as shocking as this may be, federal workers do not seem very happy about being sent threatening emails, and they're making their voices heard in unusual ways.
I want to ask you about a fake video that was somehow hacked onto the TVs at the Housing and Urban Development offices this morning in D.C. It's pretty graphic, so we're not going to show it here on Top Story. It essentially shows the president, again, this was an AI image, kissing Elon Musk's feet.
He's right. He's right. An AI video of Trump kissing Elon Musk's feet is disgusting. It's inappropriate and it's disrespectful. It should not be on TV. Let me just show you why it should not be on TV. Look at that. Look at how inappropriate this fake video of the president slobbering all over Elon Musk's foot knobs is. So inappropriate. And that is why we will never be showing this to you. It's called journalistic integrity. Thank you. Although it has to be said that making that video and hacking the screens took a lot of work, and I really hope whichever federal employee did it included that in their list of 5 accomplishments. Just impressive. I definitely feel bad for the guy in the HUD office who learned about his latent foot fetish in the worst possible way. Oh no! Oh no! And it wasn't just the rank and file who pushed back on Elon's ultimatum. Some of Trump's own cabinet members told their departments the email wasn't official. Kash Patel told the FBI, don't respond to that email. Tulsi Gabbard said, don't respond to that email. Pete Hegseth responded to that email saying, you up? That was irrelevant. But all this infighting is confusing. Can someone please clarify the situation here? Mr. President, do people have to answer this email or not?
Can you clarify, hopefully once and for all, what your expectations are with this email to federal employees?
It's somewhat voluntary, but it's also if you don't answer, I guess you get fired.
Oh, great. Yeah, that clears up everything. It's voluntary, but if you don't answer it, you're fired. Okay. At this point, the only thing more confusing than that email is that AI video that is totally inappropriate for television. I mean, they gave Elon 2 left feet. Weird and gross. And that's why we will not be showing it to you. It's called moral courage. Moral courage. Now, look, you would expect some pushback within the federal government, but the surprising thing is there's also some pushback from outside the federal government.
From Georgia to Oregon to Kansas, Americans angry with President Trump's sweeping layoffs and Elon Musk's drive to slash government spending, packing raucous town halls.
Elon Musk has contracts with the federal government.
Conflict of interest!
He's done some very good things. I think.
How do you feel about a unelected, non-confirmed, one of the checks and balances of our nation?
Great question, and I'm glad you asked it.
Oh!
Okay?
Oh! Man, that last guy was so ready to get mad, he didn't even wait for the answer. I have a question. You suck. Oh! No, look, personally, I'm glad to see people pushing back against Doge. But even if you support Doge, you have to acknowledge that seeing real people voicing their opinion to their elected representatives is a lot better than seeing Trump going to town on Elon's speech. Just disgusting. It's disgusting. And you will never see that video here. You won't. Today was a big day for Donald Trump. He had a meeting with every member of his cabinet, and he even invited the president. By the way, thanks for dressing up, Elon. Don't let us keep you from a blackjack tournament in 2006. But yes, Elon did have a seat at the table. Well, not an actual seat. He was more looming over it like an Ed Hardy Sith Lord. And some reporters wondered if that created tension with the actual cabinet members, given that he keeps trying to fire all of their staff.
President Trump put out a Truth Social today saying that everybody in the cabinet was happy with you. I just wondered if you had heard otherwise, and if you had heard anything about members of the cabinet who weren't happy with the way things were going.
Hey, Elon, let the cabinet speak just for a second. Anybody unhappy with Elon? If you are, we'll throw him out of here. Is anybody unhappy?
It's nice to know that someone gets a vote on whether Elon Musk should be running the country. It would have been awkward if someone started to raise their hand before everyone else started clapping. Me? Oh, no, I wasn't raising my hand. I was just about to do a Nazi salute. Phew, good save. So everyone is proud of the job that Elon is doing, and Elon agrees.
And I should say, we will make mistakes. We won't be perfect. But when we make a mistake, we'll fix it very quickly. So, for example, with USAID, one of the things we accidentally canceled very briefly was Ebola, Ebola prevention. I think we all want Ebola prevention. So we restored the Ebola prevention immediately.
I'm sorry, you accidentally, very briefly canceled what? I hate to be giving efficiency notes to the efficiency master, but perhaps next time we keep Ebola prevention going the whole time. Is Elon really asking for credit for only canceling Ebola prevention a little bit? It's like he dropped a baby and went, "What? Look how fast I picked it up. 5-second rule."